alongside Christian Horner, team principal for Red Bull. I'm Dalen Cuff here in the Miami Grand Prix. Great to be with you, sir. Let's start with this. Max just had his child. Where is Max? Is he here? Is he good? What's going on?
Yeah, no, he's here. It's obviously a very big thing for him, and great news for him and Kelly and their family. So yeah, everybody's delighted for him, and obviously now it's back to business and back in the race car.
It's a hard switch, I imagine.
Yeah.
When did he arrive? Let's get maybe logistically. When does he arrive here? We're starting practice here in a matter of an hour change.
Yeah, he got this dispensation to come out late, so he got in yesterday, sort of late afternoon, and
okay.
and look, he's ready to go. So he's at the track already, and already in briefings with his engineers.
Any parenting advice you've passed along?
Well, look, I asked him if he got involved with the nappies yet, but which for sure he's gonna do. He's great with kids. I mean, he's been surrounded with kids his whole life, and you just got to watch him with children, and you can see he's going to be a very natural dad.
All right, let's get into the season a little bit. And full disclosure for our audience, I'm like many Americans. I came into the sport through Drive to Survive.
Okay.
I got in right before Max won his first championship.
Okay.
And I'm a Red Bull fan.
Great. I'm glad to hear that.
Right, I'm on board with you.
Good.
And I've, as a fan, have only seen you guys at a certain level.
Yeah.
You always actually became the hunted the last couple of years at the highest level. This year's a little different. How is it being more to that hunted role? What do you prefer in your team?
Well, look, I mean, there's pressures with both. When you're at the top, you're there to be shot at, and all sport goes in cycles, and we had a hell of a run, and now we're fighting to stay there. And McLaren are doing a great job. Ferrari and Mercedes are back in the game, and you're always going to get that. They're all great teams, and when you've got stable rules, things converge, and that's exactly what's happened. So. We've got a big fight on our hand this year, but we're still in it, and we've won the race in Japan a month ago. We were unlucky in Saudi a couple of weeks ago, so everything to play for.
In terms of storylines and headlines, I feel like there's a lot of discussion around McLaren, and Oscar and Lando, and Lewis' transition to Ferrari. You guys are kind of maybe off the boil in terms of headlines. Is that good for the team?
Yeah, well, we're trying to keep our head down and just focus on the track, and for sure, McLaren, you've got two great drivers. They're both fighting hard, and we're slightly different to that. We've got a very, very much a de facto number one driver in Max, and obviously Yuki alongside him as he's coming up to speed and also doing a good job. But our gameplay is very simple in that all bets are on Max.
How challenging? You've had different setups where you've had drivers a little more competitive.
Yeah.
How challenging is that to balance?
That's very challenging because ultimately there can only be one, and that becomes very divisive in the team. You end up going to enormous pains. I mean, even to the point of who drives out of the garage first, in qualifying, who talks first in a debrief. Yeah. There's all those little nuances, and it's very challenging for a team because you've got to keep everything transparent. You've got to keep it all open, and of course you can't take sides. But it's only natural that the engineering sides of the garage will get very competitive.
Let's talk about the first 6 weeks of the season. 5 races, different continents. I mean, it was how challenging has the start been?
Look, I mean, we're consuming a lot of Red Bull because I mean the time zone
company made
the time zone changes have been pretty brutal, but yeah, it's been an interesting start to the year. I mean, the wet mixed race in Melbourne, we got very close to Lando at the end of that. The second race in China was not as strong for us, and then we bounced back hard in Japan with a big pole position and a big victory there. Bahrain was horrible. Yeah. And then Jeddah was very competitive again, pole position and just missing out on the victory.
How have you seen Yuki's progress in a situation that I'm sure you didn't foresee necessarily before the season started? How have you seen him kind of grow into the team?
Do you know what? He's jumped in and he's showing his experience. He's doing a good job. He's offering very, very clear feedback, which is massively beneficial to the engineers, drawing on that experience that he has. And, he's been a bundle of energy coming into the team as well. He's a fun guy. I never met a driver that is so obsessed with food as Yuki.
Fans love him. He's
either eating food, talking about food, or cooking food. He's a great addition, to the team, and I think he's only going to get stronger.
Has he made you anything food-wise?
Not yet. But I mean, it's quite funny because you see him in the in the briefing. Max is sitting there with his little chicken salad, and Yuki's got 3 courses coming in.
That's a smart man. I'd be more along that lines of that. What's it like when you bring a driver, like obviously he was in the other team, but when you bring him in, how does that affect the broader organization and when you make that switch?
Well, the drive is such a fundamental, aspect, and it's a big change after having Checo in the seat for 4 years. So there's a lot of demands on the driver from all of the engineers. There's a huge amount of marketing, commitments as well. So it's a big step. Suddenly, he stepped into a front-running team, and suddenly he's in demand. The engineers want the feedback from him. All the technicians, they want that knowledge, and then of course, running at the front, there's always going to be more commercial commitments.
In terms of the grid overall, I mean, in 2024, it was essentially the same grid. Now you have a whole rookie class. You got a lot of movement going on. Whenever the grid changes like that across the board, how does that affect your role?
Well, it's great to see the youngsters coming through, and you've got 2 ends of the spectrum. You've got the old guys, like Fernando and Lewis now, but now a lot of young talent. And I mean, in our own stable, we've got Isaac Hadjar that's doing a great job, and the other youngsters as well. Seeing Kimi Antonelli doing what he's doing, Oliver Behrman. It's really impressive. Bortoletto as well. Seeing what these young guys are capable of.
The silly season is going to come up in a couple months. We're not quite there yet, but I know the Max rumors continue to say, and you said, I don't know where these come from.
Yeah.
He may depart. How do the rumors does that affect the team at all when those things continue to be talked about?
Look, there's always a lot more noise outside the team than there is inside the team, and there's always going to be rumors in the world that we live in with social media. Things take a life of their own, but Max is happy in the team. He's settled, and we're just focused on our job, and we know contractually where we're at, but it's not about contracts, it's about relationships. And the relationship with Max is very strong, and everybody's just focused on trying to defend this world championship.
Let's get to the racing then this weekend. It's sprint weekend. You only got one practice session to start shortly. The 4th year of this race. How have you seen this, not just the race, but the event kind of evolve in a couple of years?
You know what? The event now is a highlight on the calendar. It is a fantastic race. All our partners love it. Everybody wants to be here. The setting, the way that Miami is so hospitable to Formula One. They really look after the teams and the drivers, and it really has become a highlight of the calendar. The track that probably not the driver's favorite, but it produces a great race. You can overtake here. There's that long straight into the slow corner. Safety cars, because there's so many walls here, have played a role in the last few years. And so anything can happen, and even a little bit of rain may be around on Sunday. We haven't seen that yet, so that could really turn things on their head.
With the sprint weekend, how does that change or at all affect your approach?
It's just everything becomes condensed. So you got one practice to sort your car out, then you're straight into sprint quali, then you got the sprint race tomorrow, then you got a chance to tune the car again before qualifying for the Grand Prix on Sunday. So it's just a busy weekend, and the guys in the garage, the technicians, the support crew, they're flat out from the moment they arrive.
Expectations are what? I mean, it's Red Bull usually to win, but what are the expectations?
So the expectations are to try and build on what we did in Jeddah, and we know McLaren will be fast. Ferraris have got some upgrades recently. Mercedes show form on occasion. So honestly, you've got probably 8 cars there that they've got a chance this weekend.
You mentioned upgrades. There were rumors you guys were bringing upgrades. Is that true? What happened here?
But it's a constant evolution. So, you're constantly trying to develop your car. There's constantly new parts. They're not big parts because we're at the end of these regs. So you're really getting to marginal returns now. It's the detail that's making the difference. So, there's over the next few races, obviously little bits that will be coming through.
As a leader of this organization, how much time do you spend looking at the 2026 development, where you're at there versus what's happening right now?
Well, you're splitting your time, and we've got a lot going on because we're building our own engine next year with Ford. So, that's hugely exciting for us. A brand new project that, we're going to have a Red Bull 4 powertrain in the back of, the Red Bull racing cars and the Racing Bulls cars. So that's a lot of activity behind the scenes back in the UK, but really exciting, and we're just using all the same spirit and approach that served us well on the chassis side.
Is there a tension in that when you build your own power unit, you're kind of taking that step? What is that like?
I mean, Craig, we're taking on Ferrari, Mercedes, Audi, Honda, and we're a subsidiary of an energy drink.
Yeah.
You know, but it's all down to the people. It's all down to the facilities, and we got great people, we got great facilities, and a whole bunch of passion. And that's usually a pretty good cocktail.
I don't know if you saw this, but I got to ask, you've asked all the drivers about this. There's a social media thing, 100-man versus a gorilla. Have you seen this? Are you familiar with this?
I haven't. I must admit, I haven't.
Well, I'm going to have to ask you then. The question is, would 100 men defeat it, like conquer a gorilla? Like, would the gorilla
gorillas, from what I know, they're very peaceful animals. You know, they don't like.
If you wind them up a bit,
they're more lovers than fighters, from what I understand. But look, I wouldn't want to take on a gorilla. I mean, that's for sure. I like the band, but I wouldn't be keen on taking on any gorillas.
Well, Bortoletto did think the 20 F1 drivers could beat one gorilla.
Really? 20 of our F1 drivers?
They're on the grid currently.
Look, I don't think 20. I don't think the entire paddock could take on a.
I don't know if 20 Miami Dolphins, as we're in the stadium, or 100 Miami Dolphins could get it done.
Exactly.
Chris Shorter, appreciate your time, man. Thanks a lot.
Good luck.
Thank you.